Perfect. Well, welcome to Backstage with Geoffrey Morrissey. I have the pleasure of being joined by Brian of the Front Bottoms. Their record, Back on Top, was released earlier this year, and in a year where Churches, The Wonder Years, Courtney Barnett, and Frank Turner, The Districts, all released albums. I think that this is my favorite album of the year, so thank you so much for making the time.
Thank you very much for having me.
So this is the second to last night of the tour. We're here at the Royale. What do you look forward to doing when you're getting home?
Sleeping.
Sleeping.
Definitely. Getting on a regular sleep schedule. And just hanging out with friends.
Well, that'll be good, because you're on the bunk of a bus right now, I'm assuming.
Yes. It's kind of a sleep when we are not moving situation. It's a little bit rumbly on the bus, so I try to get my snooze time in when I can.
Well, it'll be good to have that back.
Exactly.
And then, so one of the things I really appreciate you guys is you always switch up your set list from night to night.
Definitely.
Why do you guys switch up the order?
Basically, so we don't get bored. And we always, people come to more than one show, and we wouldn't want to, make them listen to the same songs over and over again. But really, the real reason is just so that we don't get bored. Keep us on our toes, keep us playing different songs, keep all the songs fresh in our heads, and keep it exciting from night to night.
Well, that's awesome. And so these songs, they're pretty intricate. I hear the horns on a ton of them.
Oh, yeah.
Has it been tough to play them live because they're a little bit more complex?
I think you kind of just fall into a rhythm of it, honestly, and it's like you play them every single night. So after the third or fourth time that you're playing it in front of a large group of people, like it's got to click, or it's just not going to happen. So they all have thankfully clicked, and we, Kieran and Tom and Matt, and they're such fantastic musicians, so it makes it easy. It makes my job easier on stage because they're always holding it down behind me. And Kieran plays the trumpet, he does the keyboard, the electric guitar, the cowbell. So yeah, he's got a lot to wonder about each night. He's got to worry about a lot, but he holds it down. So.
And you don't want to hire one guy just to play the cowbell.
No, yeah.
I've watched, I think it was of Monsters and Men, had just one person in the back that had a triangle of Boston Calling. I'm like, wow, that guy's living the life.
Yeah, sweet job.
I don't really. Maybe I'll apply for that in my next life. But so from the beginning, sort of going back to the horns thing, you have been using that in your music for a little while now.
Yeah.
It's not a traditional rock instrument. What drew you guys to that?
I think we just had a friend who knew how to play trumpet, and he was hanging out when we were doing the recordings, and we said, hey man, why don't you play some trumpet? And that's kind of always how it happened. Like with anything that we used instrumentally, it was just like, well, what do you play? Sort of, bongos, bring the bongos over and lay down some bongo solos. So it's nice, and it's always just been sort of like, oh, okay, Kieran, you know how to play trumpet too? Okay, cool, maybe you could put a little trumpet on this part, so it's always been just about what's around, kind of.
Well, I think that gives hope to anyone who's ever done a jam session that they might do well one day and be selling out a 900 capacity room on a Sunday night, which is no easy feat.
Well, Sunday night rock and roll.
Exactly. It's awesome. Nothing better. But so speaking of rock and roll, I'm going to make you blush because I'm going to read a quote from Jack Antonoff of Bleachers, who we've had on once or twice. This was before you guys played Shadow of the City. He said, "This band, the Front Bottoms, sounds like New Jersey, and nothing means more than that to me. There is such a specific feeling and vibe that comes with being from New Jersey and playing music here. They represent this place in an incredible way. The Front Bottoms are the future." That's awesome, because Jack Antonoff is a rock star in all senses of the word.
Yeah, definitely.
But I agree with the New Jersey thing, and I don't know what that feeling and vibe is, but would you be able to explain it at all? Because it's there with Springsteen, Bleachers. There's all some connection.
Yeah, totally. I don't know. I don't know what it is. I always feel like well, first of all, I definitely have learned now that you can never escape New Jersey. And wherever you go, there will be somebody who's from New Jersey there, no matter where it is in the country. That's just what I've found. And I don't know, maybe it's like a location thing, like the Shadow of the City thing was a big emphasis on the fact that we were so close to Manhattan. And I grew up down the block from Jack. I didn't realize that until I met him for the first time at Shadow of the City, but we grew up in the same town and everything, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, seriously.
But so I think the fact that the city's right there, I think there's so many different types of people living in New Jersey, and you got the beach is there, Philadelphia, there's also a lot of woods around, maybe location-wise. Has a lot to do with it, but I don't really know, but I definitely agree that there is a vibe and that we we try to put that forth in our music just simply by making music the way that we would naturally. Kind of comes off as an overall Jersey vibe for sure.
Well, I was gonna say, I bet that you have like a lot of people bring you like Wawa's coffee. I think that's the name of it, right? Yeah. Because I had a boss from New Jersey. He always talked about that. But yeah, no, like different like regional things.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, absolutely, for sure. I mean, because Wawa was like a little bit farther south, so it was always like, like we're gonna pass a Wawa, let's go to Wawa, we get all excited about it. But now they actually opened up Wawas right around the corner from where I'm living, so.
Well, that's a bonus.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like here in Dunkin' Donuts, you cannot escape it. That's for sure.
Yeah, every time you turn around.
Yeah. So you guys, and I do want to go back to Shadow of the City because you played that festival. It was the inaugural year. What was it like?
It was absolutely fantastic. We got asked to play it, and we were super excited because, Jack and Charlie XCX and Colts and Mr. Wives, all these like pretty big time acts that we were all like very impressed with and we're fans of. And it was sort of like, is this going to be weird for us? Is this going to be a stranger bill? But we were so excited to play outside at the Stone Pony. I had gone to see like a ton of shows on the outside stage at the Stone Pony, the summer stage. So this would have been the first time that we got to play it. So that was very exciting. So the whole thing, and then when we got there, they were just super kind to us, and he had written a note and left like a bottle of rum for us. And
that's awesome.
Yeah, it was just great. He made us feel very comfortable, and it was cool. We felt appreciated, and it was nice to talk to him. I realized I lived down the block from him, so it was cool.
Yeah, that was definitely the sleeper festival of the year, and then Bully is the last minute addition too. They're
Bully,
great.
That's right.
They're awesome. Yeah,
absolutely.
No, they played Boston Calling. We talked to them then, and I mean, they were just insane.
Yeah, they killed it too that day. It was pretty cool.
Yeah, well, and then so this is another notable string of shows I wanted to talk about. We talked a little bit about earlier was the Tour Say Anything, and then you actually were on the Hebrews album too.
Yes.
I mean, that must have been huge.
Yeah, it was incredible. I'm a huge Say Anything fan. I love Max Bemis. I think he's awesome. And we went on tour with them like maybe a while ago, like 4 or 5 years ago. We played
I didn't know
First
that.
to Four. Yeah, First to Four. It was us, the So-So Glows, and Kevin Devine. And then like a couple years later, he asked us to come back and do another tour. We were so excited. We got to be main support. And then he was like, he sent me a song. Do you think you want to sing on this? I was like, sure, totally. He told me the words to sing, so it couldn't have gotten easier than that.
Yeah.
And it was a total trip. And then I got to sing it on stage with him every night. Like at the time,
remember that,
it was just like unreal for me. It was exciting.
And I mean, it's such a cool guy too. I don't get nervous often. I bumped into him going into that show. And it was like, that was like the peak. But,
yeah.
But no. And that's a great song too, Hebrews. I do remember, I think he almost punched you on stage and you almost fell down. Was that like a recurring thing that he did, or was he just feeling?
We would always just go with the flow. Sometimes we'd end up like hugging each other and rolling around on the floor. We just kind of let the juices flow and see what happens. He's great. He's awesome, dude.
Great.
Yeah.
Well, we'll get back to your music now, I promise. So this is the first album with Fueled by Ramen, which is sort of the label for this genre, I think. And how did that sort of come about? How did you guys sign to them?
Well, we were getting off our other label, Bar None Records, that had been very good to us, and we had written an album, and we were just kind of shopping it around and seeing like if anybody would be interested. And we were super excited with the amount of interest. Like, we couldn't really believe it. Like, that labels were saying, like, we'd like to put this out and stuff. So we were pretty pumped. But Fueled By was really the label that came and was just like, we have, we can do certain things for you, and we will let you do whatever you want. And they never, ever asked for demos. They never... basically we signed the contract and we said, okay, like we have an album that we want to release. And they're like, okay, great, like pick a studio and go record it. And we went out to LA and we recorded with a big time producer, and I'm super pumped with the way the album came out. I think I learned a lot. I learned a lot about stuff that I don't want, that I don't like. I learned a lot of stuff that I do like. So the whole thing has been like a super learning process, but the entire time Fueled By has just sort of been like totally supportive in like any of the ideas we had. Like, for an example, like they were like, could we make a music video for Cough It Out? And we were like, yeah, totally. And they were like, could we get it like by the end of the week? Which is, they were just like, can you give us something? So I just followed Matt around on the bike with a GoPro, and we edited it and sent it to him, and they were just, I thought for sure, like, there's no way they're gonna, like, have this, you know, like,
yeah.
But they were just like, cool, like, this is great, like, you know, thanks so much. So it's like, definitely they sort of see, like, oh, okay, the Front Bottoms is its own thing. Like, let's let them do what they do, because that's why people like it, and let's just support it. And, like, you know, moving on, I know moving forward, it's a record label, and there'll be issues, I'm sure, like anything else in life. But so far, it's been totally, like, a very good experience.
And they've had a lot of success with that model of just sort of being hands-off and letting people do what they want to do. And I think that's why the albums come out so well.
Totally. I totally agree. And they really do, I think also, like, they really do, like, stand by their acts.
Yeah.
And, like, the acts that they've had for a long time, and they've been successful for a long time. And their careers have changed. You know, Paramore is a different band.
I was just going to say.
Panic at the Disco is a different band. Fun is, like, a great example. 21 Pilots is, like, the biggest band in the world right now, it feels like, you know.
Seriously, yeah.
Like, well, they just sell out Madison Square Garden 2 nights in a row.
And they sold out a 7,000-seat arena twice in Boston for a date 6 months down the road. And thank you for coming on the show before you got big, too, to the 21 Pilots.
Yeah. I mean, you know, and it just sort of seems like they just fucking go with the flow, and they support, and so it's great. I mean, we couldn't be any more excited, and it was sort of like with the labels, like when they came in and said, like, you know, we're interested, and we got to meet the staff and stuff, it was kind of like a no-brainer for us. We definitely want the Front Bottoms to be like a thing, a career thing for us, and we want to continue to make art. They were kind of like, yeah, let's do that.
And, you know, sort of using the word career, I know that you said that this sort of seemed like a professional art project, and that was sort of like a buzzword about it. It was more professional. How so, and how do you think that the quote-unquote professionalism, what effect did that have on the record?
You know, it was a major label release like that. So just that going into it, me and Matt and Tom and Kieran, we recorded this shit like our whole lives in our rooms, at our friends' studios, in the warehouse somewhere, you know. So this was like, oh no, you're gonna go out to LA for a month and record an album, and with a producer. And so I don't want to say that it was like flustering, but it was new. The entire experience was new. So I'm very thankful that we had the album already written even before we signed to Fuel By. So we had about 14 songs ready to go. This was going to be the next album. So we were able to kind of go in with a little bit of a vision. And so, you know, we've been playing these songs in the practice space for 3 months now. Like, so we were able to put our opinion forward, and it was a crazy experience, man. It was like kind of the way this tour has been. Like, instead of playing to 200 people, you play to like 1,200.
Yeah.
It's just like something that's like, oh, okay, like this is totally new. Like this is fun and exciting and different and good. It feels overall positive. And that was the same way that it felt like with recording this album. It was like, okay, this is good. Like I'm learning so much and I feel happy, so.
And with it sort of being like a more complex album, was there a tough, like one song that you were like, oh my God, am I ever going to be able to make this into something?
You know, I would say Cough It Out was a song that I had recorded acoustic on my phone and sent to Kieran probably like, must have been like 6 months before anybody else had heard it. And we had both kind of were like not afraid of the song, but it was basically 100% acoustic, me playing the song that you hear like acoustics from start to finish. So that was something when we got into the studio, we were like, we all love this song, but like, are we going to be afraid to do anything with it? Like, are we going to be scared to like, because now it has that funky third verse.
Yeah.
There's like a lot of space between and stuff. So that song was one in particular that like took a long time to become what it is.
Yeah.
So that one, everything else kind of came pretty natural, to be honest. Because that's the way we do it.
Yeah.
Historic Cemetery was one that like, you know, we messed around so much with like different ideas, and that was nice. That was good about writing the album like before we signed, because the only pressure that we had was ourselves, like wanting to make good music.
Yeah.
So we messed around with that a bunch of times. Should we do the poem at the end? Should we? So it was cool. Historic Cemetery, yeah, that one, Cough It Out. All the other ones kind of came together pretty naturally, which is, thank God.
I was going to say that's the way that you want it for sure.
Exactly. If it's exactly, you're absolutely right. If you're forcing it, what the hell's the point?
Yeah, exactly. And then so, sort of through this whole process, I'm sure that you learned a lot about yourself, a lot about the band. What would you say as a band, sort of like in the studio, you realize what your biggest weakness is, something that you want to tweak before you go into the studio again?
Let's see. Personally?
Oh, well, sort of as a band, I don't want to put you on the spot, and not...
I have bad breath. No, I guess, we are all learning, like, as a band still, like, as artists and as creative people that, like, are coming together to make, like, basically an art project. Like, you're dealing with, like, 3 other extremely just as creative people as you, all of us. And that's still something that, like, I'm still learning, like, how to 100%, like, figure out how all these different ideas can come together and work together, which I guess that's called the creative process. But
True.
So I think we're all still kind of, like, learning each other as creative people.
No, and that's awesome. It's always good to keep learning. So
Totally.
This has been one of my favorite questions to ask this skier. Ryan Adams released the 1989 album covered front to back. If you guys could do that with one album, what do you think it might be?
Oh, damn. See, this is when the other guys would be useful because they know so much music. I would say front to back. Would it have to be acoustic?
No. You could do, you could do it either yourself or with the whole band.
Okay, probably like a cool hip-hop album that's come out.
Everyone wants to do a hip-hop album.
Is it? Yeah, I guess because, like, lyrically it's, seems more advanced and maybe you could do a lot. You could make it totally different.
True.
Which would be cool. Everybody says hip-hop album?
I had, Folk Acts.
Cool. Yeah, I guess that makes sense.
Modern Baseball guys wanted to do Born to Run to see if it would be famous if they did it, which I found kind of funny.
Okay, that's pretty cool.
But yeah, anyone you think would do a good job at the front bottoms?
I'm sure there's people who would just blow us out of the water if they were able to take the album and do all covers of it. It would sound like, it'd sound awesome. I don't know in particular, though.
Yeah. No worries. And then, so what are you listening to right now? What's been on your phone?
Let's see. Where is my shit? It's upstairs. What have I been listening to? Shit, I'm drawing a blank.
No, don't worry. It's tough when someone puts you on the spot.
Yeah. Oh, I like that new Mike Pilsner song.
Oh, I've heard. I have not listened to it yet, but I've heard of it.
I like that song a lot. I like Fetty Wap. I've been listening to that album a lot.
Really? Huh.
Yeah, because he's a Jersey boy. He's from Patterson. That's like not too far from where I grew up. I mean, it's a world away from where I grew up, but like, it's not
distance.
It's not too far exactly. But and I just love that he's like the #1 guy in the world right now. It feels like so. So, yeah.
Yeah, no, awesome. And then, so I think that there have been people who have been outside waiting for this show for, I kid you not, they were saying 6 hours.
Holy shit.
And it's cold out there. So,
oh, my God.
So I'm going to let you go to the stage as to not annoy them, but thank you so much.
Thank you very much, man. I appreciate it. Thanks for having me.